welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we are looking at lovely Lily Pad. Now, this is a free stamp set in the celebration, which runs through to the 31st of March. So for £45, you can get this stamp set, which is this one. It's what they call a reversible, so you can use it both sides, so you can get an outline image and then turn it over and fill it in. Free with £45 order. You can also get the matching dies as well if you want to, which have some other little bits and pieces on, but we're just using this one today. And to be quite honest, it was one that I didn't immediately get drawn to because I thought, I'm not sure about it. However, it prints out absolutely beautiful. I've done a few already because I wanted them to dry. Because if you're using blends, whether you're using whatever ink you're using, it needs to dry a bit, otherwise it will bleed. Oh, I've just got a little piece of paper from something else I was doing. So they come in the set like this, so because they're reversible, you haven't got the little drawing that you normally get on most stamp sets that shows you. Let me see if have I got a just trying to find one to show you. I don't know whether I've actually got one out at the moment, which is clear. Yes, I have. Okay, normally on our stamp sets, which are normal ones, you will get an outline. So let me show you on here. You will get an outline like this. So you can see, if I take this one out, you get an outline drawing so you can see where the stamp goes. Okay, on the reversibles, you don't get that because obviously you can use both sides of them, so you don't want one side going. However, they put the drawing in on the actual box itself, so you can put all of the pieces in there if you want to make sure that you haven't missed a piece or something like that. That's the only difference with them. I have, as I said, put some out already, but this lovely great big one is the one that I really like. It's a good size. It is, let's do a bit of measuring on it. It is 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches that way by 2 inches. So 2.5 by 2 inches. So it's a good size. And I thought it would work perfectly for doing a sort of focal point on something. So let me just get a block of the right size, put it down on the block. It also is slightly thicker because it's the reversible. The actual, you can see it's thicker than a normal photopolymer stamp. It means that, in my opinion, because I've done it a couple of times, it actually stamps clearer. I don't ever put lots of things underneath because I find that I can just press them down or stamp them down, so I don't have anything. I've just got my work surface underneath. I know a lot of people put it on cushions, but I don't. I want to get as many as I can on here, so I'm going to put it down at the bottom like that. But I find that it actually seems to stamp a little bit better and comes out absolutely beautifully. So you can see the detail on it. So I'm actually quite impressed. It's the first one I've tried. They did have one in, I think they've got one in the annual catalogue. But again, I wasn't too sure of it, so I thought I'd wait and see. But this one, being a free set, I think is absolutely lovely. And I'm very impressed at the quality of the image on it. And as I say, they are slightly thicker because obviously you can use both sides, so good for me. Right, so I have obviously done a few beforehand, so we didn't have to wait around for them to dry, but you can see how beautifully it stamps out. And I'm going to use some blends to colour just this one in, and I'm using Again, something slightly different. You can use any of the colours you want, but I am taking the light and dark in the balmy blue. So I'm going to take the lid off. I'm going to take the light first, and we are just going to colour around the whole of the image. So I do take a little bit of time doing this, but it does colour in really rather nicely. So you can spend as much time as you want doing it. You do the top bit so I don't get my hand in the way. But I always try and lay down the lightest colour first. And you will find when you first get your blends, they are a bit like our ink pads. They're very juicy because they have a lot of the alcohol and pigment in there. So I tend to avoid the black part as much as I can, so that it doesn't bleed, because when there's a lot of alcohol, even when it's dried, you will find that particularly if you come up to the edges, they do tend to bleed across. So you know me, I do my little dotty bit just up at the top, because you can see it's flooding through very quickly because there's a lot of alcohol with the colour, because it's new. As you start using them, obviously the alcohol will or they won't be as juicy, a bit like our ink pad. These are disposables, so once they get dry and you've used them, you will have to replace them. But they're not a huge expense, really. They have got beautiful colour tones which match perfectly. So if you're looking for something to have that perfect match, they are very good. As I've said, I do find the caps very difficult sometimes. I have quite weak hands because I've got slight arthritis in my hands. So I do find that opening the caps is quite difficult. And quite funnily, some are easier than others. I must admit, the newer ones, so whether they've spent some time in making them a little bit easier, I don't know, but I must find the newer ones, or the ones that I've bought the most recently, these being one of them, that they are easier to get the cap off. If you don't have any problems with your hands and dexterity, they're not a problem at all. But if you do, you need to just be a little bit aware of it. And as you use them as well, sometimes they are easier. But I must admit, I do like the colours on them, because the colours are absolutely beautiful. So we're nearly round on this with the pale. Now, if it had been one that I've used a few times and wasn't quite as juicy as this one, I probably would have done one leaf at a time. But to be quite honest, I don't think I need to. So I'm not going to put that on completely, and I'm going to take the other one off. And you see, these I can open fairly easily. And what I'm doing is I'm going to put the dark down at the bottom, just in little stroking lines, along each one of the leaves where it is the shadow part. So down on this one as well, the bottom of this one, you're going to have the shadow going the other way. So on each one of these leaves, where you would have the shadow at the bottom, I'm going to be just stroking through some shadow on there, and then this one in here. And I don't want too much. I don't want it to be over coloured in, so or too much dark. You can, sometimes I do all the way around the outside, but on this one I really don't think it works. So I'm just literally doing down where the bottom of the leaf would join in on there like that. Then I'm going to take the pail again and literally just along that join line, I'm just going round in little circular motions, and it's only on that join line because I want the petals to at the top be as pale as I can get them. And you will find that as it dries it will become a lot paler. It looks darker now because there's a lot of the alcohol that's still got to evaporate. So then just pop the lids on quite well, and I'll put those back. So now I'm going to get our paper snips and I'm going to cut this one out. You can see there's lots of lovely images to choose from, but I wanted to show you, to start off with, something that was quite simple and easy to achieve. Now, if you've got the dies, you can use the dies. I didn't buy the dies because I think that this shape is a relatively easy shape to cut out. So what I tend to do is I give myself a border, because I find if I give myself a border I can always cut it down a bit afterwards. If I'm putting it onto white, so white cardstock, it's nice to have that border because most of our dies will give a border anyway. So I'm just cutting it round with just a little bit of a border round, and I find it easier for me to see where I'm cutting if I have the border, and then you turn the paper as you go. So I've got that fairly tight on there, so I can come down in on this one, and you'll be able to see as I'm doing this it is drying out. So you can I can feel, not that you can feel, but I can feel that it's drying out. Alcohol obviously dries out relatively quickly, but as I said, when your markers are new and quite juicy, you will find that it takes just a moment, and it looks really lovely when it has dried completely, because you get those really nice tones. So just finishing cutting this one out. I find doing what they call fussy cutting can be quite relaxing sometimes. As I've said to you before, I sometimes sit with a tray in the evenings when the television's on, because quite often I watch the television, but there's sometimes, you know, advert breaks and things like that. There's things on that you go like, you're either on your laptop or iPad or whatever other device you've got, or you're fussy cutting like me. Okay, so now we have this lovely image that's cut out. So I thought we would have that as part of the focal. And what I've done is I have taken some matching cardstock, which you can see how beautifully they match. And I've taken the lovely swirls from the, let me find the set that I've just taken it from. It is, you're all shouting at me now because you know exactly which one it is, but I've completely forgotten the name of it. It's part of the Poppy suite, so it's the painted labels dies. And as I'm always saying, I'm using these ones again and again and again because I love this. So we're going to take a piece of cardstock as the base. We're going to take a white mat, and again, use your normal standard, what you would use for a mat, what you would use for a layer. So I'm going to put this one in on here, which gives the little mat. And as you can see, I have die cut this out because when you put your mat on, it doesn't show. It's a way of making all of your cardstock go further. And then that's going to go in the centre like that. Now I have done a sentiment, and I've taken the sentiment from the Peaceful Moments, which is this one. And I've taken the Thinking of You with All My Heart, because I thought that that was quite nice. So I'm going to put that in the center like that, probably have it a little way up, and then this is going to go down at the bottom like that, because I think that that makes just such a beautiful card. Now, I'm not going to put it together any more than that. I just wanted to show you how just using that piece, because it's a large piece, it just makes it look very beautiful. And quite simple. You want quite a lot of white space in there. Now, I've done another one in some pink, so I can just show you in that one. So if I move that out of the way, and I can put this one in on here. So this is done in Blushing Bride. And again, I've taken this piece to go on there. If I take this out, because I haven't done another sentiment, to put that one in. And then there's this one to go on the bottom. So you have two very different feels. This I coloured in the Blushing Bride. I then use the light. If I pick it up a little bit, you can probably see. I use the light Calypso Coral. And then I used the light Cherry Cobbler just down on the bottom to give that sort of three-tone look of the flower, which I think is really beautiful on there. So again, you can see that that's another lovely one that you can put on just by doing that one image. And I've also done one which I haven't done the other piece of it, but I wanted to just show you how you can get different colour tones and different feels. This one is using and this is quite a dark one, but again, I thought it would look beautiful cut out. I've toned it with Coastal Cabana rather than Bermuda Bay, but I've coloured it in the light and the dark of the Bermuda Bay. So you can see just that one image, you get a beautiful flower that literally stands alone, makes a great card. You can do a whole pile of them, colour coordinate them, put them in a set of cards, and I think it's great. So this is a stamp set that I had overlooked, but I really like it for colouring. So one to get free with celebration. Thank you so much for watching me, and I do look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye.